Good evening, Zambia. Welcome to Zambia Goes to the Polls 2026. This is the debut program which you will be seeing on Millennium TV, very widely followed in this country and beyond, for a number of days to come before we go to the polls on August 13. Now, in case we are meeting for the first time, my name is Anthony Mukwita. Let me just give you a little bit of a background. So, I am a journalist by profession and also diplomacy by profession. So I've got these two cross-cutting, professions. I was an editor-in-chief and managing director of the Zambia Daily Mail of Zambia, and I was also ambassador of Zambia to Germany and 7 other European nations. I was voted World Bank Best Investigative Journalism of the Year for 2012. I was also voted Ambassador of the Year 2019 in Germany. But we are not here to talk about me today. We are about to start engaging with you to get into your head, to get into your mind and your heart, so that you can know and learn about what Zambia is really about as we go to the polls on 2026, August 13. This is a very crucial poll. In case you don't know, the current president of Zambia is President Hakainde Hichilema. And the last time I checked, there is about 29, I think maybe 30 Zambian citizens who are vying for the same position. They want to see change. But then, I cannot discuss this issue alone. I need to discuss it with people that are more intelligent than myself. And on the debut program today, I have no other than one of the most astute members of Zambian soil. And this is Honorable Mutoto Kafwaya. Now, what I'm going to do is the same way that I've briefly introduced myself. I will ask Honorable Mutoto Kafwaya to tell you a little about himself before we get into this crucial program. This program starting today is going to be an issue-based program. It's going to be an issue that discusses the socio-political impact and economic situation in Zambia to help you make a decision, the right choice, as we go to vote. As you go into that booth on the 13th of August to exercise your democratic right under a democratic dispensation. I'm very excited. And I am hoping that you are glued to the television this Monday evening. I hope that you will be able to help us learn something that we do not know. It is my honor and privilege now to call upon Honorable Mutoto Kafwaya to tell us a little bit about himself as we dive into the program.
Ambassador, thank you so much for inviting me to this evening's program. Listening to you, speak of me in that fashion is humbling. But of course, I admire your capabilities. I admire your achievements, and many other Zambians out there who have made significant contribution to our nation. They deserve to be admired. Well, I've been requested to announce who I am.
Indeed.
Okay, so my
people
name
out there want to know.
Yes, my name is known. My name is Mutoto Kafwaya, obviously, former member of Parliament for Lunte constituency. This past Friday, the National Assembly or Parliament got dissolved, so you have no MPs, you have no ministers. I used to be an MP for the beautiful people of Lunte parliamentary constituency. The people of Lunte kept me in that position for 10 years, from 2016 to last Friday. And I have requested the Tonse Alliance to ask the people of Lunte to have me back in the House. Hopefully, we get that compromise. But speaking just a little, I'm an accountant by profession. I am a CGMA, a Global Chartered Management Accountant. I became a CGMA via CIMA because I'm CIMA qualified. And
CIMA means?
Chartered Institute of Management Accountants.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a British qualification. As a matter of fact, there are two very prominent accounting qualifications which come from the United Kingdom. One of them comes from England, and that is CIMA, and the other one comes from, is it Wales? The ACCA.
Ah, the ACCA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So, other than that, I have peripheral qualifications, like a degree in accountancy. I also have NATEC. I also have an MBA in addition to that. So how else do you get that without primary and secondary education?
Of course.
It's not possible,
it's
right?
It's a pre-qualification. So clearly, you did go from grade 1 to grade
So yes.
university.
Yes.
University of Zambia?
No. I never did the University of Zambia. I attended University of Cambria in Lancaster. Yes. So in Lunte, there's a small school called Tapa Primary School. It did a little bit up to grade 4, and then Shungu Primary School in Livingstone took me to grade 7, and then Linda Secondary School did the rest.
Amazing! I didn't know we went to Linda together.
Oh yes, I did.
I don't know who went first. Myself. I completed in 1988.
Oh, that was
Linda Secondary.
Was way earlier.
Oh, amazing! Now you're making me feel old.
That's okay. So speaking of myself, when it comes to education, that's about it. But I've also worked in the private sector for many years. In government as well. I've worked both as an accountant and as an auditor. In the accounting, going up to chief accountant, and as an auditor as well, going way up to audit manager. So
amazing. What were you doing in government apart from being a member of parliament, which is also, most people do not understand that being a member of parliament means you work for the government.
Oh, of course.
You're part of the government. There are 3 arms of government.
Yes.
There is the legislature, there is the executive, and there is the judiciary, right?
Yes.
Of course, there is another one which is unwritten. It's called the fourth estate.
Oh, yes, the media. Yes. So once the people of Lunte would have taken me into parliament, I was employed by government. And I served 2 years in my first term. Then the late president gave me another government job to become Minister of Works and Supply. I spent 8 months in that ministry, and then he moved me to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. So it was
quite a show of confidence.
Well, in a sense, yes. And I'm very happy with my record in both ministries.
It's quite impressive, if I may say so myself.
I'm happy with that. But I'm happy because I saved the people with that level of decency, but also, with focus on service delivery. This is why today we can talk of network everywhere in the country.
Great. Now, before we go further onto that, Honorable Kafwaya, former member of parliament for Lunte constituency, former Minister of Works and Supply, former Minister of Transport and Communication. We are in a hunting season.
Yes.
It's a hockey season.
Yes.
It's about today on the 18th of May. This evening as we speak, I think we're remaining with about either 87 days before Zambians go to make a decision on whether to keep President Hakainde Hichilema as their president or whether to re-elect, whether to elect somebody new. What do you think are the issues that are shaping people's minds as they go towards that 2026 poll?
Okay, so
in your view?
In my view, it's their interest. Okay, it's the people's interest that is shaping their imagination. Okay, and we've talked to many people. Because we are representatives of those people. I was elected representative of the people of Lunte, and by extension, the people of Zambia. And I have come to understand that everybody has a personal interest. Okay, what is the interest of the majority Zambian people? It's for them to be provided with, essentials to survive. Okay, if a leadership cannot provide the essential environment for them to survive, they will begin to think differently about that leader.
Let me get this straight. So it appears like it's almost like a household, but this is on a national level.
Absolutely.
The children, the wife, the other people are dependent on the parent.
Absolutely.
As the breadwinner to
Absolutely.
bring in the bacon and the bread.
Yes. Yes.
So how is this?
So here is it. Here is how it works. The government has to provide an environment which assures the people to be able to attain what they intend to attain. So
I like that. Let me check that. Yes, please go ahead.
So the interesting thing is that the people won't vote for you because they love you. No. They vote for you because they believe you'll be able to create that environment in which they can thrive.
They can thrive.
So a business
instead of just existing.
Instead of just existing.
Yes.
Because we all want to progress. You know,
it's a human nature.
It's a human nature.
Yes.
So what is that environment? It's that environment which can provide, you know, an educational system which guarantees quality education. Okay,
it is said that there is free education.
Well, there is free education, but elsewhere I gave an example that since we've had free education for 4 years, since UPND reintroduced it, I would like to go to.
I like you saying reintroduced it. That means we've always had free education.
It had been there.
Yeah.
It had been there. In fact, under the PF, if you would like to know, there was only 200 kwacha remaining. So UPND removed the 200 kwacha and it became free. Now, I was saying, let's go to a school that is providing free education. If we go to Lunte, we go to Tapa Primary School where I began. Indeed. Or let's go to Shungu Primary School.
Or indeed Linda Secondary.
Or Linda Secondary. No, I'm talking about a grade 4.
Oh, grade 4.
Because it's been there for 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So 4 years. And then when we go to Muyoma Primary School in Chilenje, let's get a grade 4 from there, who has benefited from free education for the past 4 years. And then let's go to the International School of Lusaka and get a grade 4.
Indeed. Let's
bring them here.
Yeah.
And then we show them to the public and say, it's a grade 4 from Muyoma Primary, it's a grade 4 from International School of Lusaka. They are at the same grade. Let's interview them. Let's talk to them.
Yeah.
So will you still be proud of the free education that you are actually, you know, sponsoring?
With a child from ISL
and one from Muyoma Primary. Yes.
Yeah.
You won't be proud. You run away.
And why would that be?
You know, it would be because this child who is having the UPND free education will even be ashamed to take the stage. Now, that means the education you have provided is not liberative.
It's not quality.
It's not quality education. It's not going to make that child compete. Because remember, this child will compete with all other children, including those that are graduating from Boabab, from Chengelo, from all of these schools.
BIPS.
Okay? So Leaks and all of those schools. So are you then still convinced that this program is giving the benefits to the people as you know, to an extent of how much you are promoting it through rhetoric, you know, through political propaganda?
It's been a rallying call, Honorable Kafwaya.
Yes.
It's been a flagship of the current administration of President.
Yeah,
are you saying it has failed?
Free education has, you know, free education has offered very poor quality education. That is what I'm saying.
Indeed.
So for the people who are out there looking at the alternatives, they will be looking at what promise does this group of people have for the improvement of the education sector? What promise are you holding for the improvement of the health sector? What promise do you hold for you know, the job creation sector?
And in your view,
what are you saying?
In your view,
now,
what is it delivering?
Now, when you look at the Tonse Alliance manifesto, it answers all of those, you know, issues. So you have a group of people who are saying we can take this country forward in the literal, sense of the word, because there's also this forward that we know of, which in fact is backwards. The forward that will give you 4 years of load shedding, but yet they are calling it forward. And that's not what I mean. Indeed. There is a group of people that can be able to create infrastructure that supports the vision of that free education.
As we come to an end on this very complex issue, which is quite loaded, I want you to look right there into the screen and talk to Zambians.
Yeah.
The question I'm going to ask you, Honorable Kafwaya, is if you met your brother, President Hakainde Hichilema, today about free education, look straight into the camera, what would you tell him?
Listen, President, first of all, I have never hidden anything from President Hakainde Hichilema.
And you are speaking publicly.
I have spoken to him through various platforms.
Yes.
And here today, I'll say, well done. The children are no longer paying the 200 kwacha which you found them paying. You removed that, but your plan was poor. Here is why. We are now running with a new curriculum. I don't know if, Ambassador, you know that.
Yes, I'm aware of it.
It has been 2 years. We are going into 3 years now. There are no books for the new curriculum. It's terrible. It's poor. It should never happen in a country that has a government with a president. Your free education is good. Why is it that Munali Secondary School today is taking in Form 1s up to more than 1,000 when the school was built to take in up to 200? Where are those people sitting, for God's sake? And let me be more clear. That 1,000 that has been taken at Munali Secondary School, next year there will be 1,000 in Form 2. And you're going to have Form 3s who are 1,000. And you'll be taking in another 1,000 at Form 1. Are you thinking about how these people are going to sit in their classrooms? Are you thinking about how teachers are going to deliver, their service? So clearly, in terms of planning this free education, it has been chaotic, it has been poor, and a government needs to plan properly. When we draw these, national plans, they are not for nothing. Make reference to them before you make changes to programs, so that as you introduce new programs, those programs offer quality service to your people.
That's amazing. What will the Tonse Alliance, of which you belong to, with Honorable Brian Mondobile and Honorable Makebi Zulu, do differently, briefly, in ensuring that there's not just free education, but there is also quality?
Okay, so for me, I'll tell you, the Tonse Alliance, led by Honorable Brian Mondobile, when he forms government this August, we are going to be scientific in the manner we take decisions. And this is a promise that is everywhere. When you look at our industrialization promise contained in our manifesto, there is a promise of a scientific process in arriving at priorities, in the execution of those priorities. Because you have to marry all of these decisions to your capabilities. You don't just, make pronouncements when you don't even have capabilities to execute, those pronouncements. So for us, we are going to be scientific. How do you, make scientific decisions? You do that through analysis. So our situation, this situation I established regarding the example I gave with Munali Secondary School, it may be different with when you compare Munali to Tapa Primary School, where I began.
Indeed.
It may also be a different case if you go to Shungu na Mtitima today, or even Linda Secondary School.
Yes.
So you have to analyze all of these components scientifically and take decisions that fit into your budget to begin to resolve these matters.
Okay.
These issues have to be resolved, and we have to do that scientifically.
That's great. Now, even though this interview, this debut interview, Zambia Goes to the Polls 2026, is between you and me.
Yes.
I would love you mostly to look into the camera because you are talking to the Zambian people.
To the Zambian people.
Yes,
yes.
So that they can feel that connection. They can connect with Honorable Kafwaya here. So there is the next question that I had for you is the P word, poverty.
Yes.
I think you heard one of the greatest social commentators. I don't call him as a musician. Professor P.K. Shala.
Yes.
He sang a song called Common Man.
Common Man.
And it was a super hit because it spoke to the realities lived by many Zambians. And he said that, you know, mwebuteko. Kuti mwanini chika kufimbi.
No, bunga.
But uwingawe na muikatako. Because insala iraleto msewani.
Absolutely.
Meaning there is no integrity in poverty.
No.
There is no respect in poverty.
Yeah.
Now, Zambia, according to the World Bank, stands at about 5th most poorest countries. I don't know what the poverty levels say in percentages in Zambia. And I just want to ask you, being a chartered accountant, being, you know, a person who crunches numbers, why are we so poor? I think I heard something of about 60% poverty levels for a country of about 20 million people. Now, I am saying this looking at the fact that Zambia is Africa's second largest producer of copper. It has some of the most, you know, valuable minerals such as iron, lithium. We are going and driving towards the EV evolution, you know, where which will hit the global market by 2030 at more than 300 billion annually. And yet, from what I understand, from statistics from the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, many households
are poor.
And many children are malnourished. I don't know. You are more intelligent than I am, and you've been more with the people that I am as a representative of people. What is the percentage of poverty? And does it make sense looking at what lies beneath this earth, including the arable land that we have?
Ambassador, you sound more passionate than myself. I don't know if I'm able to show the passion the ambassador is showing. But yes, Zambia is a poor country, admittedly so, and it has been poor for many years. Now, we are standing at around 60%.
60%.
Of poverty. Now, 60% in a country of, 21, 22 million people, that would be around, 13.5 million Zambians who are poor. What does it mean to be poor? Okay, it means you don't have, the essential requirements, to maintain a decent life. For example, you don't have decent accommodation, decent shelter. That is, you do not have, you cannot, afford decent food, water, healthcare, education, and this is why for education, UPND will come and tell you free education without regard to the quality of it. But we are talking about decency. We are talking about decent shelter, decent food, decent accommodation, decent, education and healthcare. These are the parameters that we look at when we are considering poverty. Now, if 60% of the people cannot achieve decency in these areas, but yet you have been telling us that your economy has been growing year on year, for whom then has the economy been growing? These are some of the questions that you tend to ask. So you are making our country, more and more unequal, where there is this so-called rapid growth of the economy, but affecting only 40% of the people, and a good number there are foreigners as well, because as you know, UPND are capable of even giving a mine to foreigners. So here we are. Why are we in this situation? That's the question.
That's the question.
So you have to ask now the current president, have you been a good leader? Have you been a good leader? If we can still remain at 60% poor after 5 years of administration, are you a good leader? If companies can leave this country, for example, Parmalat leaves and cites the bad economic environment, are you a good leader? If all of these small businesses have collapsed, contractors have folded, people have lost jobs because government is saying these people, were doing business with the PF. No, so it's poor leadership. That's the first thing. Okay, if you have good leadership, you cannot have a situation where companies fold because the government cannot support those companies on account of having done business with the previous government. I heard this at ZAMSA. One time there was a board member there who said, you can't progress here unless somebody from the State House clears the supplier you are dealing with. Do you see this? Yeah. So you have all of these problems. Outside of leadership, it's progress we are talking about. How do you expect Zambia to develop in the next 20 years with this level of quality of education being provided via free education?
Can you put a finger? I'm glad with the background that you've given, but I want to divert you a little bit here, Honorable Kafwaya.
Yes.
Can you put a finger on the scale of access to food, access to good Medicare, drugs? Can you put a finger on access to fuel? Can you put a finger on access to fertilizer? How do all these join in this bigger scheme of poverty? The last time I checked, Honorable, is the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, which runs monthly, studies on how Zambians, an average family of 5 lives in Zambia, 12 or so, yes, states that an average family needs at least 11,000 or 12,000
12,000 for 1 month.
For basics alone, when we are talking about basics, we are talking about maybe a 1 liter container of cooking oil. We're talking about a 25 kg bag of milli meal. We're talking about a 2 kg bag of maize. Before you talk about transportation, before you talk about everything, tell me your experience, because you are a representative of the people, in your experience, and you don't live in a bubble.
No.
You have family, and you also have extended family. Can you just explain to the Zambians there your feel of how this goes on with this monthly basket thing? I am also asking this because from what I understand, you have worked in government at a higher level. What I understand is a medium, Zambian public servant gets about 5,000 kwacha, while others will go as far as 11,000. Does this mean Zambians are living beyond their means, or they are actually screeching on poverty when you look at the figure that has just been given by the JCTR?
Okay, so if you look at that amount of 12,000 kwacha for a family of five to survive,
on basics,
to survive, and that's survival, right? The question you ask, you have to go back to the people and say, how many Zambians are earning more than 12,000 kwacha right now? Okay, how many are earning more than 12,000 kwacha? Younger drivers, okay, taxi drivers, minibus drivers, civil servants. Okay, how many are above that threshold of 12,000 kwacha? There are so few. Now, because there are so few, it means all of those who earn less than that are poor because they can't afford the minimum requirements to have that decent life. This is where the function now becomes interesting. Now, how do you make things better? You make things better by creating an environment where business is the answer. Listen, business is the answer to decency, but business won't be attracted if you have a government that promotes some people at the expense of others. What you want is equality. You want to promote an environment which promises equality of treatment. This is when, investors, both local and foreign, who admire to put their money in your environment.
Are you saying there is no equality?
There's absolutely no equality in this country. This is why, there are several companies that are folded because government cannot pay them because they did service during the PF. Okay,
including local companies.
Let me tell you, as of the beginning of this year, government was owing local suppliers about 80 billion kwacha. Okay, 74 billion kwacha, and that's a noise I made in Parliament the other time when I was saying, how do you plan on dismantling of arrears with only 4 billion when you owe 74 billion? Now, all of
figures
those
don't fit, right?
Now, is that dismantling, for God's sake? That is joking. You don't even mention it because you are joking. You are owing people 74 billion, then you plan that we'll only dismantle 4 billion. What type of and you are even calling
like a drop in the ocean for me.
You're calling it dismantling, for God's sake.
Dismantling. That's a big word.
What are you talking about? Okay,
it sounds more like chipping on the wood.
That's the point. But you need a government that is going to look at everybody in the same way. When you are employing people, remember, all of these people are lining up to become policemen, soldiers, Zambia Air Force, ZNS. They are poor people. All of them, they are poor. You are talking about 60%. Okay? Of people who are poor in this country. So don't create a database, the police officers.
Are you making reference to the recent recruitment?
Of course.
Recruitment.
Yes, secret 4,000.
They said it was a great thing because they had a database. I don't know whether there was the need to advertise.
That is nonsense.
Indeed.
That is absolute nonsense. Policemen are not doctors. Policemen are not nurses. Policemen are not teachers.
Skilled.
They are not teachers. No, by that I mean, each time you want to recruit a police officer, you have to subject them to physical training. Because, and health checks. Because the physical training you subjected me to in 2023 provided a status that I might not have today. So how do you then say we are going ahead with those ones we interviewed in 2023? That is absolute nonsense. And the president, your president, our president, HH, he promised that he was looking into that. Today, as we speak, as of last Friday, there's no cabinet. Jack Mwimbu is not there in office. So
Matamba is not there.
So who is going to fulfill that promise of looking into that issue? That was rhetoric, Mr. President. And this is a rhetoric that the Zambian people don't want. Okay? When Ambassador, you began to ask me, you were talking about put a finger. Put a finger to, to millimil. Put a finger to this. Listen to me. There are numbers that are everywhere. This president told us, let me come, so that you stop buying a 25 kg of millimil, 125 kwacha. You'll be buying it for 50 kwacha. Okay? 50 kwacha. Listen, his mandate has finished in this year. By 13th August, the mandate finishes. Is he ever
87 days from tonight.
Yeah, 87 days from tonight, yes. Is he ever going to fulfill the 50 kwacha, 25 kg bag of millimil?
Are you saying
of course no. That's failure.
How do you say so?
That is total failure.
Because I've heard a lot of his sympathizers, a lot of his supporters saying that he has done a lot of what they are calling kwenyu. And I've heard even some economists such as Lubinda Havazoka saying that the president has done more than 90% of what he had promised to do. I don't know, maybe we live in different worlds and stratosphere.
I am not an economist. I'm in no place to...
But you have numbers. I saw you making comparison to numbers that he said, for instance, the bag of millimil, a 25 kg bag would come to 25 kwacha.
Yeah.
And fuel prices, which were at 17 per liter, would come to something much lower than that.
Yeah, three kwacha. He was specific.
Indeed.
I'll reduce 3 kwacha.
Please just run us through those numbers again, just for dear listeners. Allow the honourable former member of parliament to run you through a couple of figures. I think this is very, very important to also educate you a little bit and to help you make a decision as we go down to 2026, 13th August polls, because that's what this program is all about.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Honorable.
Absolutely. Now, these are things we have always talked about. And Ambassador, the president promised that he was going to remove 3 kwacha, which was as a result of corruption and middlemen, okay, in the procurement of fuel.
Didn't he do that?
Well, I don't know whether moving a liter of petrol from 17 kwacha to 29 kwacha is a reduction. It could be. It could be in the mind of UPND. It could be in the, because how else do you say in this particular area we have performed? Listen, petrol is expensive and in some cases unavailable. This is how bad the UPND government has been. When you go to the other subsector of the energy, which is the, electricity, you can't even start talking. You just keep quiet. Yes. The tariffs are so bad. The minister promised he was going, he had actually instructed DRB to inquire into the cost of electricity. Is the minister there today?
No more
he just promised and he disappeared.
Indeed.
The same way HH did. I promised to look into this database employment scandal. It disappeared. So for UPND, I think that for them making a promise is the easiest thing they know. But you don't make empty promises because people remember. There are people who can try to justify that. Look, where we are, economic-wise, both local and global, it is impossible to buy a 50 kg bag of fertilizer at 250 kwacha. If somebody can argue that way, and I would agree. Okay, but my problem is, this is what you promised. So it is not for me to argue for you. You come and tell me why you haven't delivered it.
Honorable Kafwaya, just while you are still on fire on this issue, do you think these promises, which you have just elucidated here, look like broken promises? We shall reduce the fuel to this price. We shall reduce a bag of million. Do you think they're going to have any significant effect on the mind of the Zambian voter as they walk into that booth on the 13th August?
They will have significance because, remember, during campaign, the UPND will be promising. And they'll be saying, Niaba then. It's these same people. Okay? That's what the people will be saying. It's these same people. And they'll look back and say, in the past they promised meal, they promised fertilizer, they promised, national unity, they promised, the equality before the law, they promised all of these things, but yet they went and did the exact opposite in everything. So how then can we trust that these people are able to offer us, or give us promises that they'll be able to fulfill? So it is you. The same UPND who promised before 2021 general elections, who will be promising again. And you'll be doing so against us, who promised and delivered. Okay? Who even delivered much more than what was promised. But also, during this time we have...
I mean, it's only been 5 years?
Yeah, well, do you know that there's a huge promise that we have regarding reaching copper production to 3 million metric tons in 10 years. Now, go to them, tell them you've already covered...
Is it realistic?
They've already covered 5 years, okay? And copper production has increased only by 40,000 tons. Wow. 5 years. They've covered 5 years already, okay? What you found at 840 is only at 880.
But let me play the devil's advocate there. Hold your thought there, Honorable. Yeah. Let me play the devil's advocate. Under the stewardship of President Edgar Lungu, may
Yes.
his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
On June 5, it will be exactly 1 year he remains frozen and then buried because the Attorney General's office took out a court action to stop Madam Esther Lungu from burying him. Under the stewardship of President Edgar Lungu, you did take control of Mopani copper mines. Under the stewardship of President Edgar Lungu, you also did take ownership of Vedanta. I recall KCM. That during KCM, yes, I'm glad, Konkola Copper Mines, you took it over from Vedanta, which was not paying taxes, paying suppliers, paying electricity bills, and a myriad of other things. I still recall very vividly, I was still in the Foreign Service. I was at my station in Berlin, overlooking 6, 7 other countries. But I still do recall that President Hakainde Hichilema, then a vibrant, vociferous, and fiery leader of the opposition, said that he would never give back Konkola copper mines
to Vedanta.
And then I don't know what the real arrangement is with Mopani copper mines, but from what I understand, and you know numbers more than I do, but from what I understand is it has sort of been given away, 51% shares of Zambian's mining company has been given away to a company that didn't even have a website. At the time that it was, I know this sounds like funny, like, why is he talking about a website? It's very, very important.
Yeah, you're in media, so it's justifiable.
You tell me, can you please speak to this when you look at the Zambians
thank
and
you
explain
so much.
what this means? What are the dynamics? I wanted to explain it like you were talking to my 13-year-old son, Lushom.
Okay, yes. So earlier I was saying the most important thing is business. Business is what creates jobs. Business is what creates further business opportunities. Business is what takes people out of poverty. And who should... Job creation. Yeah. So who should create an environment that produces business? It is government. By, crafting policies that speak to the environment of the time, in stimulation of that environment, for that environment to support business. Now, when you do that as government, in whose interest are you acting? You are acting in the interest of your people, the Zambian people, because who do I want to get a job? It is a Zambian. Who do I want to get business? It is a Zambian. And so all of these policies you are promulgating and instituting should be for the benefit of the Zambian people. So if we create an environment which attracts an investor to come and invest in our space, and they are exploiting our natural resources, but then they are failing to support government, failing to support our people, what do? You take the interest of your people first, at the expense of those who are failing to support the interest of your people. This is why we saw KCM being taken over by government. This is why we saw Mopani being taken over by government. So the late president, may his soul rest in peace, acted in the interest of the Zambian people. So President Hakainde Hichilema assumes office in towards
2021.
Towards the end of 2021, and he finds Mopani is 100% owned by the Zambian people through ZCCMIH, and he also finds KCM is in the hands of the Zambian people. Where he's coming from opposition, he had promised that he can't give KCM to Vedanta. But not only then when he was in opposition, even when he had become president, at a press briefing at State House, he reiterates that some people are claiming that giving back KCM to Vedanta. We can't, we are not giving it back.
He said that, right?
Of course. Then he comes to
at
address...
a press conference.
At State House, yes, when he was president.
Straight into the camera.
I'm just not sure whether he was wearing gloves that day.
But would it make a difference?
No, I'm not sure if he was wearing gloves. I'm not sure. But it was a press conference. And in that press conference, the media were applauding him. You know, the media, surprisingly, they were clapping for him.
The media is crazy.
Yes, and this is what
my days, you wouldn't do that.
This is what UPND almost brought to the National Assembly of Zambia. Clapping in the National Assembly.
Oh yeah, but I also noticed in the National Assembly,
clapping.
The speaker was dancing, wasn't she?
Yeah, of course, so dancing speaker.
The dancing queen.
My speaker. She did a dance after the unconstitutional constitutional amendments bill went through.
Yes.
So
she did a funky chicken.
Yes. So here we go. The president, the president, or the government under President Hakainde Hichilema gave back KCM to Vedanta. So it was a
major turnaround of events.
Yeah, it was a turnaround.
Yeah.
It was a lie. We were lied to by the UPND that they would never hand that mine back to Vedanta. Today, as we speak, KCM is under Vedanta. Then the most unfortunate thing that has happened to the mining sector, as far as I am concerned, is the giveaway of Mopani.
Tell me about it.
Listen,
why is it most astonishing and spectacular?
I don't know, Ambassador, if you have any company in your name. Of course, a company can only be created by 2 people or more. Okay, so you have shares. Shares are and then the value of those shares are reflected by the asset that is available. You know the shares, their values is underlying. The actual asset is what is valuable to you, isn't it? So we had Mopani owned by the Zambian people through ZCCMIH. And then government wanted to offload some shares from Mopani to an investor who would come and invest into Mopani and then use that investment to promote activities and stimulate their copper production. But look, all of the interested mining firms, known and unknown, who actually did bid to get that portion of Mopani, or all of it, I don't know what the arrangement was, were put aside. UPND goes to Dubai, or is it
Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi. They go and get a company called Delta. Okay? This Delta, when you check it, it is a 100% subsidiary of another company somewhere. So Delta now comes to get 51% shares for Mopani. Now, when shares transfer, when you transfer shares to somebody new, if in your company I come, you transfer shares to me, immediately I must pay into your coffers the value of that shares or an agreed consideration. Delta paid nothing.
Really?
To the Zambian people, to ZCCMIH. So in other words, what UPND government did was they just gave away the asset.
Is that legal, Minister? It doesn't sound. I'm not a lawyer, but it smells like something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
That is what UPND did. They gave away a mine for nothing. Now, 51% is a controlling stake.
Indeed.
You have to appreciate that. And
how is that even possible?
Under UPND, anything is possible. There's so much that has happened. Can you believe that Sujlite, which was stolen, caught by police, is also missing from the police? These things are happening. Can you ever think of
Mukula? There's some trees that were
Can you ever think of gold being traded at KKIA, Kenneth Kaunda International Airport?
Yes.
Not just in the car park at the presidential pavilion. Can you envisage anything like that happening? So anything.
I've heard you use this expression when I've heard you on radio on fire as usual, that There's so many crime scenes
Of
in
course.
Zambia. Can you name 2, 3 of them?
Of course.
I know you have already named.
Okay, look.
KCM and
Look, I don't know
FQM.
I don't know how you get off the hook.
Yes,
If you've given away a mine.
indeed.
And the person you gave the mine to is existing somewhere. You never get off the hook.
No.
Because the Zambian people will reclaim their mine.
Indeed.
Okay?
Are you saying this is what is going to happen under Brian
immediately?
Munduwile's government?
Listen, immediately Brian Munduwile becomes president, that mine will revert and there will be sanctions. This I can tell you for no fee at all. Okay, this is exactly what is going to happen to this road, the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway.
The Lusaka Ndola
you have serious.
Can you just speak a little bit on that? What happened? What's the deal? How much did the investor bring into Zambia, and what is the deal, and how much is the cost? Did they bring in anything? Where is the money coming from to build the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway?
Moik ambassador annoys me. Each time I see the receipt when I'm passing and I pay, it's written Moik. I get so upset because I am paying this money to Moik, who has been brought into this country as a purported investor, who came with nothing.
Are you sure?
Moik came with nothing.
How possible is that? I mean, you are coming from talking about an Abu Dhabi company getting 51%
and
with
Moik,
nothing. And now you're telling me about Moik.
And then Moik,
yes,
who would come and find that the Zambian government is building a road, a road. It's called the dual carriageway, but so far they've just been building one side. Okay. So even the actual building, it may end up not be a dual carriageway, but they are building one side to create a dual carriageway because the other side, the road is already in existence. Okay, so they say we are going to find a concessionaire. Now, when you enter into a concession, there's this person you bring in as a concessionaire.
Indeed, or this company you bring in.
Let's start there. The concessionaire and who and the government, they enter into that public-private partnership. But who is government? Who is representing government in this case? Is it RDA who is responsible for building the asset? Or is it NRFA who is responsible for financing that asset? You have a problem. This is why these agreements, you will never see them. They will be hidden until... You
can't demand them as members of parliament?
They will not give you. The UPND will not give you. So you have RDA, you have NRFA in the road sector. These are the players who actually are doing something in there, right? So is RDA building the road by itself? No. RDA has employed a contractor. Okay, AVIC is building the road. Okay, now where is the money to pay AVIC coming from? It's coming from NAPS.
Now tell me something. Can you please simplify this?
Let me be logical.
Please. Simple.
NAPSA.
So the investor into this concession.
So NAPSA
yes,
is paying the money from which government somehow or the concessionaire is pay, whoever is doing the payment to the contract. That money is coming from NAPS and a loan from some bank, some South African bank also resident in Zambia. So you
borrowed by the Zambian government.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Please, let's keep it to
within the 1P of the public. You have NAPSA, it's a public company. You also have RDA. Because remember, RDA are the ones who are stopping people from inspecting the road, including the engineering Institute of Zambia. So, if NAPSA is paying for that road, ask me now, let's now get to find out what did Moik come with, because NAPSA is not the concessionaire. The concessionaire is Moik. So what did Moik bring on the table for them to be given that concession?
And what did they bring?
Nothing. They just came with like a bag.
Akachola.
And they set up, ramshackle offices along there. Okay?
So I'm sorry I'm laughing at this.
No, that's okay. It's painful. I hate this transaction with a passion.
Tragicomedy, I would call it in literature.
I hate, you see, I dislike this transaction with a passion, and this I can tell you. I will never be kind until this is sorted out. My mind will never be happy with this transaction.
We'll get back to that first. We'll get back to that. I know your passion on this. I've heard you a number of times on radio and TV opine on this issue and how it hurts you at the fact that, a company like Mopani could be given away 51% without nothing. And then when the president had made a total open commitment at a State House press conference that they would never give away KCM, it still went. And also I've heard you say that all these transactions at a certain point should have been cleared by Parliament.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they never were.
No, they never were.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Yeah. I want to bring you to the D word in the House right now. And this is debt. Kindly speak to me. Kindly speak to the Zambians out there. Where are we on domestic debt today in terms of numbers compared to where we were when President Edgar Lungu left in 2021 August?
Yeah.
Where are we on foreign debt today compared to the past?
Yeah.
And if you may, educate us, because this is your forte, if you may, can you tell us whether there is a finger you can put on the scale on what has happened with what money we have borrowed? And also, in the same light, can you also tell us whether there is some companies, local institutions that have shut down because the government decided they were not going to be paying them money anymore because they were associated to the past administration of President Lunga? In a brief moment, Honorable Kafwaya, kindly.
Okay, so thank you, Ambassador. Ambassador, the issue of debt should be clear. Debt is just one way of financing operations, financing investment, financing, asset construction. So I don't have a problem with a government contracting debt. I'll have a bigger problem in terms of how government deploys the contracted debt. So my position is that in the previous government there was debt contracted, and in the current government there is a lot of debt contracted. As a matter of fact, while in the previous government I think debt contraction skewed more towards foreign debt, the current government has contracted more domestic debt, and in fact they are even ashamed now to report the gross contractions. They have begun to report what they are calling net financing. For example, in the last budget, not the 2026, government planned to borrow 80 billion kwacha. Part of that 80 billion, they were going to use it to clear maturities for that year. That means paying the local debt instruments which were falling due within that same year. So you borrow 80 billion as an example, and then you have 50 billion of the instruments that are becoming mature in this same year. So you use 50 billion out of that 80 to pay this debt, and then you remain with 30. That's what you report as financing for that year. It's grossly wrong, because remember, when you just use the matching concept, the operation won't agree. So when you borrow, report this as your income, because this is revenue or income for that particular year. Just report it, and then debt payment report it separately, because that is the expenditure. Remember, our accounts as government is income and expenditure. So why are you mixing figures and then you go and deliver the net into your reporting? By UPND, because they are borrowing two huge figures. In this year, 2026, the budget, they planned to borrow 106 billion.
Are you serious?
Okay, that was not all, because in the supplementary budget, which just passed before a dissolution of parliament, they added some more, about 10 billion.
They borrowed again.
Again. So you have this borrowing. Now, I
Isn't
don't...
that failure to live up to an initial budget that you had?
No, not the initial budget, but the promise which they gave of moratorium on debt. Remember that promise?
Yes, yes.
Where not only HH, but also Dr. Msokotwane.
Yes.
They pronounced moratorium on debt.
Yes.
HH was even saying, headroom, you are full, you can't go anywhere.
And stuff.
Okay, so you have this problem. However, for me, and I have to be clear here, borrowing is not a problem.
Indeed.
It's not a problem. The problem is, how are you deploying the money?
Yes.
Okay, so
and how do you think
for the past 5 years that UPND has been in power, let's all be honest as Zambians. Show me one project, which the UPND government has done as a result of borrowing. Just one. Well, that's not a project. That's not a project.
Well, there was a couple of toilets in
Nkana.
Yes. What do you think about that?
Well, if that is what the 106 billion kwacha will do, we leave it for the Zambian people. But late President Edgar Lungu's government and late President Michael Sata's government also borrowed. And somebody will be tempted. You also show us.
Indeed.
What did you leave out of that debt? For me, having sat in the Ministry of Transport and Communications,
and Works and Supply,
as well as Works and Supply, I'll find it easy to tell you that go to Long Acres, you're going to find a data center there.
Indeed.
That data center is world class. I had the privilege of going to Sweden, where I saw a data center. It's similar standards.
Amazing. Now,
can I just say a few more things?
Indeed.
Regarding the investment that arose from this debt we are talking about. Today, almost everywhere in the country, people are able to talk on phone.
On the phone, yes.
Why?
From far-flung areas.
Why? Because infrastructure to enable
communication towers
were put everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. If you are talking about that, maybe if Dr. Chilufya is here, he can also tell you about the 650 health posts. He will tell you about district hospitals.
Roads,
he's going to tell
bridges.
you about, if Vincent Mwale came here, he will tell you about bridges. One of the bridges not so far away from where we are.
You know, Long Acres here.
I could also tell you about airports because I sat in that place.
Of course.
Okay.
As Minister of Works and Supply.
Transport and Communications. Yes. I'll tell you about all of these airports. There's no need to mention them. You know that the terminal at Kenneth Kaunda wasn't like that. You know that Harimanga terminal wasn't like that. Simon Mwasaka wasn't like that. You know that Kasama Airport wasn't like that. So we all know where you can point at where this money went. It's possible.
That's great.
But also remember the budget in 2021, the national budget which PF left was 119 billion kwacha. The whole budget including debt, 119 billion kwacha. Today, 106 billion is debt, it's local debt.
Are you serious?
To finance how much? To finance a budget of 253.1 billion. Okay, to which they have added a supplementary of 26 billion. So you have serious issues to interrogate as a nation. And as we do interrogate these matters, we are making references to the PF, we are making references to the UPND. And then some of the members of PF have now crossed into Tonse like myself. And you are now having to check us, this UPND group, this Tonse group, who represents a better promise for developing this nation, because now you can get an example from me the same way that you'll be able to get an example from Cornelius Mwitwa. He has been minister, I have been.
You have been minister. You have both worn the same shoes.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting a signal from our director, whom I share the same name with, Anthony, that we need to be winding up this evening. It's been a very interesting discussion.
Absolutely.
But you are standing under the umbrella of Tonse Alliance, led by Honorable Brian Mundubile.
Absolutely.
I think I would be remiss if I do not ask you to say why you think Brian Mundubile stands a better chance of winning the 13th August election and steal the fire from President Hakainde Hichilema. In a brief moment, point by point, maybe bullet in a shotgun, why would you say that Mundubile's time seems to have come? I think before we were coming on the studio, we were talking about Victor Hugo, a philosopher, who once said that you cannot stop an idea whose time has arrived. I think it's also been opined by Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, MLK. Kindly, you look into the camera as we wind up this evening, as we wind down the clock, because the director says, we gotta go, we love you, but we gotta go. Why would you think Mundubile?
Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Ambassador, you were talking about intelligent people. You were talking about clever people, people of capability. Now, I do know that there are people of strong perception out there. I look at State Council Sakwiba Scott. They make no mistakes. I look at
meticulous.
They are meticulous.
Yeah, in their character.
In their character, in the way they look at things. I look at Engineer Kapembwa Simbao. These are people who have worked, saved this nation, and when they sit to analyze things, they know exactly where we are and where we should be going. What has Kapembwa Simbao said? What is happening is Brian Mundubile. What has State Council Sakwiba said what is happening is Brian Mundubile's Tonse Alliance. But then you come and look at a dynamic young man in Makebi Zulu.
Indeed. 45 years old.
45 years, far younger than I am.
Indeed.
And he comes and starts to pull crowds. Okay. By the way, he's not one of the initial people that wanted to lead the PF. The PF. I am one of them.
Yeah, I remember. Okay. Because I remember along the way you decided, and I spoke to you about this.
Yes.
You decided, look, I am putting aside my presidential ambitions
to support
my brother Brian.
Yes.
Why did that happen?
I was just saying, then Makebi says, I'm also coming to work with this guy. Then I'll look at my own decision, which I did a little way earlier.
Oh, much earlier, when people were still standing on the fence.
And I'll ask myself, was I wrong? Of course, no. Now, if all of these eminent people, and of course don't put me among the eminent people.
You are among them, if I may say so myself. So you're too modest.
So if all of these, all of these strong people with very strong capabilities, whose faculties are developed to the full capacity, can be able to say, this is where there's hope for the people. What about we the led?
Amazing.
Okay, what about we the led? But what more also, the promise contained in a document Brian himself has produced and laid on the table.
Yes.
Because Brian is not just talking from nowhere. He's talking from a book to which we will hold him accountable. But look, to run a country, you need a team of capable men and women. Do you see a team in Tonse Alliance? I would bet you do.
Thank you very much.
Where else do you see a team? Maybe nowhere. Because the only other team you're going to see is the UPND team. What is their immediate example they offered you? 4 years of load shedding out of 5 years. Higher cost of living. Growing economy which does not translate to poverty reduction. Okay? Which does not, bring equality. Okay, rule of law pronounced but not demonstrated. If you look at what is happening in the court, what is happening at a cabinet office, what is happening at parliament, you then understand that you have to be not you in order to achieve that.
Honorable
Now,
Kafwaya.
this is not your country.
Honorable Kafwaya, I think next time I will have to ask the director to give us a little bit more time, because I can see that your passion is good. You've got your head right put onto the neck. But on behalf of the Zambians out there, this is the debut program of Zambia Goes to the Polls in 2026. Allow me, on behalf of Millennium TV, to say that we are coming to an end this evening. My name is Anthony Mukwita. I am your host today and the other days that will be coming on Millennium TV to help you navigate through the labyrinth of what matters the most as we go towards the election. My guest this evening has been Honorable Mutoto Kafwaya, the former Member of Parliament for Lunte, who has asked Tonse Alliance to get him back on the ticket so that he can run again and do what he does best, which is legislating for the people of Lunte. Remember, this election is very, very crucial. From what I understand from Honorable Kafwaya, it is a cross between reducing poverty, job creation, and ensuring that Zambians live more than they just exist. I am most grateful that you stuck with us the entire evening within Zambia and abroad. And until we see you next time, God bless you and have a good night.